The Persian Gulf. The Strait of Hormuz. A narrow, jagged artery through which 20% of the world's petroleum flows. At the center of this geopolitical pressure cooker sits the USS Gerald R. Ford. CVN 78. $13 billion of American prestige. 100,000 tons of nuclear-powered sovereignty. It is the most survivable, most lethal surface combatant ever conceived by man. To the Pentagon, it is an unsinkable fortress. To an adversary, it is a $13 billion target that can be deleted by a weapon costing less than a used Toyota. In the high-stakes calculus of modern naval warfare, we are witnessing the birth of the Aegis Paradox. As our defensive shields become more sophisticated, the cost of overwhelming them drops exponentially. The Ford is equipped with the N/Spy 6V1 radar, capable of tracking a bird-sized target at hundreds of miles. But the math of the 21st century doesn't care about sophistication. It cares about saturation. When the unbeatable meets the expendable, the strategic reality of naval hegemony begins to collapse. Meet the Predator, the Fattah hypersonic missile. This is not a standard ballistic threat. It is a MARV, a maneuverable re-entry vehicle. While a traditional missile follows a predictable, parabolic arc that an Aegis computer can calculate in milliseconds, the Fattah is designed to cheat. It enters the atmosphere and skips, changing its vector at speeds exceeding Mach 15. At Mach 15, the kinetic energy alone is catastrophic. Ec equals 21 MV2. Because velocity is squared, a direct hit from a 500-kilogram warhead at these speeds delivers the force of a tactical nuclear strike without the fallout. But the Fattah doesn't travel alone. It travels behind a curtain of ghosts. Enter the Shahid 136. A slow, loud, and primitive suicide drone. It costs roughly $20,000. It is made of carbon fiber and powered by a lawnmower engine. On its own, it is a nuisance. In a swarm of 200, it is a strategic weapon of mass exhaustion. Its RCS, or radar cross-section, is incredibly low, appearing as nothing more than a flicker on the Spy 6 until it is within visual range. This is the cost imbalance. An Arleigh Burke-class destroyer protecting the carrier must engage these drones. The weapon of choice. The SM-6 Interceptor. Each missile costs $4.3 million. To ensure a kill probability of 99%, the Navy often fires 2 interceptors per target. That is $8.6 million in high-end interceptors used to destroy a $20,000 drone. If the United States wins every single engagement, it still loses the economic war before the first hypersonic missile is even fueled. The true vulnerability of the carrier strike group isn't just the hull of the Ford, it is the magazine depth of its escorts. Every Arleigh Burke-class destroyer is built around the Mk-41 Vertical Launch System, or VLS. These cells are the lifeblood of the fleet. A Flight 3 destroyer carries 96 VLS cells. Once those cells are empty, that multi-billion-dollar warship is no longer a protector. It is a brick. Under the doctrine of saturation attack, the math is cold. If an adversary launches 100 drones and 10 cruise missiles, they have already mathematically exceeded the immediate ready-to-fire capacity of a single destroyer's forward array. And here is the bleaker problem: in a swarm environment, even a 99% interception rate is a failure. If 100 threats are inbound and you stop 99, the 1% that leaks through is the Fattah. And at Mach 15, one leaker is all it takes to end the era of the supercarrier. But the physical depletion of missiles is only half the battle. There is a deeper, more insidious failure occurring inside the ship's combat information center. It's called data saturation. When 200 drones, electronic warfare decoys, and high-speed missiles fill the airspace, the SPY-6 radar and the Aegis Baseline 10 software are flooded with ghost targets. The processor must distinguish between a Mach 0.1 drone, a Mach 15 missile, and the electronic noise generated by land-based jammers. As the system prioritizes threats, the high-speed maneuvers of the Fattah create track breaks. For a split second, the computer loses the lock. In that second, at 5 kilometers per second, the missile has already traveled 5,000 meters closer to its kill zone. The shield hasn't just been broken, it has been confused into submission. Minute 0. The simulation begins. 200 Shahid drones are launched from camouflaged trucks along the Iranian coastline. To the Aegis SPY-6 radar, the horizon is suddenly cluttered with low-speed, low-altitude signatures. The carrier strike group is forced into a reactive posture. To save the CVN-78, the escort destroyers begin a ripple-fire engagement. In the first 300 seconds, the VLS inventory of the entire strike group is depleted by 50%. The drone curtain has achieved its primary objective: it has turned the fleet's most expensive assets into an inventory of empty steel tubes. Minute 7. The empty magazine reality sets in. The Arleigh Burke destroyers are forced to create distance, retreating into deeper waters to preserve their remaining high-end interceptors for the incoming hypersonic wave. This leaves the USS Gerald R. Ford exposed, a nuclear-powered island without its protective shield. The Mach 15 Predator has been waiting for this moment. Minute 9. The execution bolt. 4 Fattah missiles are launched from silo-based positions. At Mach 15, the transit time from the coast to the ford is less than 120 seconds. There is no time for human intervention. The carrier's survival now rests entirely on its internal defense layers, the RIM-116 rolling airframe missiles and the Phalanx CIWS. The final 30 seconds are a lesson in physics. Even if the Phalanx managed a hard kill, the debris of a hypersonic missile retains its velocity. A cloud of shrapnel moving at Mach 15 is just as lethal as the missile itself. The kinetic kill impact on the Ford's flight deck doesn't just destroy the ship, it destroys the doctrine of American sea power. The EC released upon impact is equivalent to multiple tons of high explosives, punching through the 4.5-inch steel deck and into the heart of the hangar bay. This is the day the battleship died, again. Just as the HMS Prince of Wales was sent to the seafloor by Japanese torpedo bombers in 1941, the sinking, or even the mission killing, of a Ford-class carrier signals the end of the carrier era. The geopolitical fallout is instantaneous. The economic shockwave would trigger a global depression. With the unsinkable symbol on the seafloor, global insurance markets would collapse overnight. No commercial vessel would dare enter a no-go zone, where a carrier can be deleted by a $20,000 drone swarm. The United States Navy, once the guarantor of free trade, is forced to retreat to blue water zones, thousands of miles from the world's most critical choke points. The power vacuum left in the Persian Gulf and the first island chain would be filled by regional powers, ending 80 years of American naval hegemony. The CVN-78, designed for 30 years of dominance, becomes a white elephant, a relic of a pre-hypersonic age. The era of power projection via massive hulls is over. In its place, the new doctrine of distributed lethality rises: smaller, cheaper, and expendable autonomous fleets. Is there hope? Only through the mastery of light. Directed energy weapons, or lasers, offer the only mathematical solution to the saturation problem. A laser has an infinite magazine, fueled by the ship's nuclear reactors, firing at the speed of light per cents per shot. But until the fleet is fully outfitted with megawatt-class systems, the $13 billion fortress remains a $13 billion target. The carrier may be vulnerable, but the United States still possesses its silent ghosts. What happens when Washington decides to dismantle the hypersonic launch sites from the shadows? Next episode, the B-21 Raiders' Revenge, the anatomy of a stealth decapitation strike.